Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. We've got a former MVP waived. Why? We'll talk a bit about that. What's going on there with our guy, Derrick Rose. The Celtics have their media day as they get ready for preseason to start up. Keith, I'm sure, has a few interesting topics to discuss there. I already saw a few things, and there were some pretty good quotes coming out of Celtics Media Day. And then we've got a new addition to the Miami Heat. All that and more on today's show. I'm Trevor Lane. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the YouTube channel. The NBA season, it's almost here. If you're watching over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and might as well like this video too while you're at it. But great way to stay informed. You know we're going to be here every day giving you the latest around the league. Keith, it is now officially fall. In some areas of the country, the weather has started to change a little bit already. Not all, but some areas of the country, the weather has started to change a bit. And now with the Celtics having their media day, I don't know, like it doesn't quite feel like the NBA season is back yet, but we're like back adjacent. We're right there. We're right there. I can't wait.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Christmas Eve yet, but it feels like the last day of school before like Christmas vacation starts. Like we're like right there. We're not really doing anything. We're having the class party, and my mom brought in cookies.
As a teacher, I love that day.
Oh man, somebody
that was
else
the best.
So some tired dad brought in ice. Like it's it's all good, right? Like that's where we're at. So yeah, man, it's we're almost there here. It's funny you said the weather. We're on hurricane watch here in Florida. We're keeping our eye out. We think we're probably going to be okay. We're going to get some nasty weather Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see. There's thought maybe school will be canceled on Thursday. If for some reason I'm not here Thursday because we don't have power, that'll probably be why. But yeah, man, it's other than that, dude. Yeah, it was fun watching the quotes come out of Celtics Media Day. Obviously, the Media Day is just always a fun day. It's like such a day of like hope and excitement for everybody, for every franchise with all that. But well, I suppose we should probably start with Derrick Rose being waived by the Memphis Grizzlies. Kind of unexpectedly came out of nowhere yesterday afternoon after we had already recorded.
Yeah, and it was, like you said, out of nowhere, hit us like an RKO. And Derrick Rose, former MVP, has not been himself since winning that. I mean, he's had a number of injuries. Keith, did you know that over the last 3 seasons, he hasn't touched 30 games played? He's played less than 30 games in each of his I mean, it's been rough. It's been rough going for Derrick Rose injury-wise, but I've been perplexed by this. Obviously, some people know what's actually going on here, but trying to sort through this and see what's happening. You and I were talking before we came on the show, and you mentioned, wow, he gave back everything.
That's per Tim McMahon. Sorry, that was an even bigger surprise. It was like, wait a minute, he gave up his entire salary because he apparently requested this waiver from Memphis.
Yeah, so this to me, when I look at what's going on with Derrick Rose physically, and I like Derrick Rose, I was a big fan of his MVP season. I thought he was phenomenal. But when I look at what's been going on with Derrick Rose physically, his inability to stay on the court, the amount of money he's made over his career, it's time. It's time to just hang him up. But the way this goes, like, why give back all that money unless you really want to be a free agent so that you can go sign somewhere else? And then, Keith, that leads me down to the path of, where else? We've talked about that. Markelle Fultz is still out there as a free agent because there aren't landing spots for point guards. I don't understand what's going on here. Clearly, there is something planned behind the scenes, but there's nothing that makes sense on the surface to me. Do you have what's been your thing? Because you and I have not had an in-depth conversation about this situation yet.
Yeah, when I saw that he got waived, my initial thought was, all right, Memphis knows he's just not going to be able to play, at least at the standard they want. Maybe the Grizzlies are saying, man, we really see Marcus Smart as far more of a wing. That's where the need is. And they might have looked at it and said, we'd rather have an open roster spot to either convert Scottie Pippen Jr., who is certainly earned, in my opinion, a NBA shot. Or if you just want to play it a little more strategically because you could keep him on the two-way contract into the season, maybe sign a guy like Markelle Fultz and say, come on, we're going to bring him in. And they know Derrick Rose just wasn't going to be able to give them what they needed roster-wise. But then when you hear, like I said, Tim McMahon reported today, Rose gave back his entire salary, a little over $3 million. That starts to turn into, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden it is, why are we doing this? That is normally a situation where I have another deal lined up with another team. I'm going to go play with them. But no one has reported anything like that. No one has even reported Derrick Rose would like to continue his career. And maybe he is just being magnanimous and saying, hey, rather than retire and stick you with $3 million on the books, buy me out, waive me. You get to save, complete savings, and off we go. It doesn't create cap space for Memphis or anything. That they are now going to be, let me do this math here real quickly. They will be about, I think, 4-ish. Actually, a little more, almost $6 million under the luxury tax. So nice little chunk of wiggle room there if they want to do something. They still have their full mid-level exception that they could use as well. So that's where if you wanted to sign a guy like Fultz, you could do it and not put yourself deep into the tax or anything. But yeah, just kind of an odd situation all around here that this is playing out the way it's playing out.
It would be a very rare occurrence. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure it's happened before, but where a player has just said, no, thank you. I don't want $3 million. You keep it. I can't think of many situations where we've seen anything like that. I mean, I guess you think about Sasha Vezenkov, maybe, where he decided, just take my cut. But that was different, right? But the point is, though, that he had that, I want to go back to Europe. In order to get that, I'm going to give this up. That would typically be the pull factor here, would be Derrick Rose has another team he really wants to play for. So that's going to make him willing to give up all of this money and not just, I want to retire and I'm just going to try to do right by the Grizzlies and give them back all this money. That's not typically the way you see this play out. So it's I'm really fascinated to see where this goes from here. As somebody who has enjoyed Derrick Rose's career, I kind of hope that this is it. Go sign a one-day contract with Chicago and retire as a Bull or something like that. Great. Or even if you want to do the Udonis Haslem thing and you want to join Chicago doesn't need a guard, by far from it. But if you want to do the thing where you're going to sit on the end of the bench and you're going to effectively be like a coach or whatever, okay. Hey, if he wants to do that, that's fine. Otherwise, like, I don't see it. I don't see where he's going to land. I don't see where he's going to play. I'm really curious to see how all of this plays out. Is this really just Derrick Rose is being incredibly generous, or is there a plan from here? He's going to go land somewhere else, and I have no idea where or if that's going to happen.
Yeah, the crazy thing, like as you get into all this with Derrick Rose, he was never the same player after the ACL tear.
Yeah.
He clearly won Rookie of the Year, All-Star the next year, won MVP the year after that. Then was an all-star. He finished 11th in MVP the year he got hurt. Then missed the entire next year, barely came back, played in just 10 games the year after that. Then he played out kind of the rest of his deal with Chicago, went to New York, and then bounced around for a little bit. But what was really cool was after a couple years of bouncing around, Derrick Rose reinvented himself in Minnesota and then Detroit as this really, really good sixth man. Like he was an excellent sixth man for the Timberwolves and the Pistons back-to-back years. And that was really kind of fun to see because it looked like, all right, Derrick Rose's career is probably over. Then all of a sudden it was like, hey, wait a minute. I can't play 75 plus games at 35 plus minutes a night. Just not going to happen. But I can give you 60 games at 20 minutes a night. Like I could probably do that. And he became a really good sixth man. And then kind of over the last few years transitioned into more of that like veteran mentor, third point guard kind of role. What's crazy though is with the whole Derrick Rose thing is this would have been year 17 for him in the NBA. He is a week and a half from turning 36.
Yep.
And I wonder if he was just like, I just don't want to do it anymore. Like I'm done. I don't want to, not that NBA training camp is anything like the NFL training camp or anything like that.
But training camp is right when you're 36 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well done. it's also not like baseball spring training, which lasts a month and a half, right? It is really like it's kind of a 2-week process at most, and then you're into preseason games. Not even for some teams, only like a week. So it really is. It might have been looking, man, I got to travel. I'm going to be away from the family all this time. I just don't want to do it anymore. I kind of wonder if that's the story we find out later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we'll just have to wait and see what ultimately happens here with Derrick Rose and where all this goes. I don't know. Maybe he winds up somewhere else. Maybe he winds up just walking away. Again, though, if he's just walking away, this is a generous move by him to give the money back to the Grizzlies. But we'll see where this all winds up. And for Memphis, that opens up a spot. Maybe they do wind up being the landing spot for Markelle Fultz. You know, Keith, I'll tell you what, though. It really does seem, when I look at this, like Derrick Rose played his college ball in Memphis. Ja Morant is a Derrick Rose-esque, not that they're exactly the same, but that uber athletic, gonna attack the rim, dunk all over you kind of guard. You would think if there was a spot for him, it would be a place like Memphis where he could be a veteran mentor for Ja Morant. So it's interesting that he's walking away here. Like, where's going to be a better spot than where he was at? So we'll see.
Yeah.
Again, where it all goes. A lot of more questions than answers, unfortunately, at this point.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to this. Naser Little joining the Miami Heat. Now, Keith, as we're recording this, we don't yet know exactly what the terms of this deal are. Naser Little, after being a casualty of the Phoenix Suns, who used buying him out as an opportunity to save themselves a lot. I know you had the exact figure, and I'm sure you don't remember it off the top of your head, but the amount of money the Suns saved by their move with Naser Little ended up being, it was absurd. It wasn't like 30
it was between him
and
EJ Liddell. It was like $40 million for the $4 million that they are going to eat something on the books this season. Yeah.
The kind of financial move you make all the time if you can. But now he lands with Miami. What do you think his chances are of making the team here if he's on a non-guaranteed deal and claiming their last roster spot?
Yeah, and you're going to see you pulled up the Heat's cap sheet here. He's not on there yet because he hasn't officially signed. It's an agreement. So at this point in the year, because so many things get a little wonky, we wait to place guys. You're not going to see a ton of guys with this year would put on a team with then the purple estimate tag. Like Bam Adebayo, for those watching on YouTube, he shows with the 51 million purple estimate, 26-27, because that's his extension that he signed. And that's not a settled figure yet because the max salary is not known for that season yet. But anyway, moving forward for Naser Little in the Heat, here's the number that really matters. The Heat are 1.6 million and change under the second apron this season. So they're about 1.6 million under. The Heat are not under any kind of hard cap right now, which is good and important for them because there's no real restrictions, but they also don't want to put themselves in a spot where they're over the second apron and it just makes life more difficult if they want to make trades later. Remember, if you're over the second apron, they couldn't do something like Duncan Robinson and Terry Rozier in a trade to go get somebody, even if it was matching dollar for dollar salary-wise, because you can't aggregate contracts together if you're over the second apron. So here's what's important as it relates to Naser Little or really anybody else that could join the Heat on a partially guaranteed contract. My guess is what will happen is the contract will either be guaranteed up until the fully guaranteed date, it'll stay non-guaranteed, or they will partially guarantee the contract for some escalating amount. Miami loves to do that, where it's like you get $750,000 if you're on the opening night roster, then $1 million if you're still there on December 15th, and they're very known for that. Then what that would allow, so Naser Little on a veteran minimum deal would prorate down if he was hit the league-wide guarantee date, which we're going to always say it's January 10th, but it's really January 7th is the last day to waive a guy because they have to clear waivers before the league-wide guarantee date. It's about 1.3 million is what that prorates out to for Little. So that's kind of the number that I would keep an eye on that matters. It's just over $1 million. And that's kind of where it does. Now, what you could say is, yeah, by the time we get to January, we'll have figured something else out. We'll have moved on from another guy. We'll have made a trade. We'll have sorted something out, or we'll know come trade deadline, we can make a trade if we need to. But that's kind of what we're watching here. If it's not a straight non-guaranteed deal, which that could be as well. And they may just let it pile up guaranteed days as they go. But that's kind of what I'm keeping an eye on here with Naser Little in the Heat.
Yeah. He's a talented player. He's somebody that could wind up making this squad. But again, for the Heat, it's just a matter of buying that time. And I like that you mentioned that they can make other moves. Like a lot of times we look at these rosters as though, oh, okay, this roster is locked in right now. Are there a lot of trades happening? No, but teams can still plan to try to make some minor moves before the trade deadline. And I know that there can be a back and forth and things like that, but things can change very quickly in this league. So in this situation, if you're able to make another move that opens up a little bit more flexibility down the road, maybe that clears the way for Naser Little to just stick with the team long term, and we'll see where that ultimately lands. But talented player, worth taking a gamble here. Of course, the bigger question, we've talked about a lot about this for Miami, it's what happens with Jimmy Butler. That situation, does that get resolved, and how? But that's something we talked a lot about this summer, and that'll be the big thing that we're watching for Miami. Naser Little, how does he fit into all of it? We'll see how that plays out in preseason and in training camp. Yep. All right, Keith, let's jump over to your Celtics, who had media day today because they're playing the Denver Nuggets. Where are they playing? Abu Dhabi? Is that right?
Abu Dhabi, yep.
Abu Dhabi for the Celtics are playing the Denver Nuggets in preseason. And so because of that, they get their season started a little bit early. Obviously, you would be more laser focused on a Celtics media day than I would be. What were some of your key takeaways from what was said at media day for the Celtics?
All right, I'm going to give you a moment here where you can timestamp this if you need to, because you may want to pull this for later use, like in future shows. But we're going to do a version of, I'll pause for a second, Muscle Watch, because we got a little Muscle Watch in, right? So there it is. There you go. You get the Muscle Watch in there.
That was like almost Randy Savage. Almost like it was. It was close.
I didn't want to go
right
quite
there.
So raspy and deep, but it was almost there. But yeah, it's so here it is. With Muscle Watch 2024 fully on the calendar. Al Horford says Jaylen Brown looks like he added 10 pounds of muscle. This did not come out of media day. This came out of Ramona Shelburne's really good story about why the Celtics offseason was not like this. Let's bask in the glow of our championship offseason because of all the Olympics related stuff and the teams being sold and Kristaps Porzingis is hurt and why the team has different kinds of motivations and all this stuff. So, but that's interesting. Now, coming out of media day, talking to some folks, two things. One, Jaylen Brown, fully clean shaven, no more beard. Looks weird. Like we haven't seen this since he was a baby in the league as a rookie. Like he looks weird without the beard. Then he already said the beard will come back, but my guess is just starting the year out, clean shaven. But the other reports are he's already been working out in Boston for like a month. And the reports are he's like hell bent on being like, you left me off the Olympic team. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you
Revenge
what I can
tour.
Do. Yeah. I won the East MVP, East Finals MVP. I won the Finals MVP. Like I'm ready to go. Let's see. What's the next story that came out? Jason Tatum has been working out pretty much nonstop. Al Horford talked about how he got into the gym at 8 o'clock in the morning. Tatum had already been there since 6 in the morning, working out. Jason Tatum is owning. I have a mechanical flaw in my jumper. Popped out late last season, continued all summer. I got to fix it to go into next year. He's already in the gym working on that. Injury updates. Kristaps Porzingis sounds like no one is saying ahead of schedule because I think that puts a pressure on the player to maybe be ready earlier than you want him to be and push him. But everybody's just saying like, hey, things look really good for him. Yeah. Porzingis already talked about he's already running, jumping, cutting, and he started to take contact already. So there's already some buzz like this could maybe be the early part of December versus the latter part. All I'm going to say is personal opinion time, nothing I've heard, but totally makes sense to me. It's not going to be anything that rushes him back. It's going to be, if it is, he's ready, it might be he's ready plus a week. just because that's how important he is to him, to the team rather, that they're not going to rush him back in with his obviously very lengthy injury history. I thought one of his comments was interesting, though. He said he's playing on a chip with a chip on his shoulder because he didn't fully feel like part of the championship because he missed basically the entirety of the playoff run up until the finals. Now, I would say, dude, you came out and scored 20 points in the first half in a game that nobody was really sure you were going to play in. You had a pretty big stamp on the team winning the title. But you know what? Great. If you feel like you weren't part, fine. You stunk. You were awful. Go prove to everybody you're valuable and you should be part of it. Like, if that's what he needs to hear, we know NBA players are wonderful at creating nonsense to create, you know,
exactly.
It's me and you should,
I took that personally.
We should market like a little block of like concrete and just call it the chip on your shoulder and sell it to NBA players because we'd sell out of them every single year because they all love to have a chip on their shoulder about something. So I think those were the kind of the big stories out of there. There were all the typical funny nonsense. Like, if everybody remembers, Derek White got his face bashed in and he's like, look at my new teeth. Like, because he had his teeth fixed during the time off and all that. Drew Holiday was like, I don't like, they asked him if he had any advice for Wick Grousbeck selling the team. And he's like, no. Like it was just
like, why would I?
yeah, media day is just, it's always a goofy time, but it was it's just, you know, it's kind of fun to get the people back, but I was mostly happy we got our first truly full muscle watch. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh, that was good. Better get you the sunglasses and everything.
Oh man.
All right.
We could do it.
Let's go.
I might have had a Macho Man headband back in the day when I
it was so
wrestling.
cool.
There was a point in time, believe it or not.
Drop.
I mean, what kid didn't? But I loved wrestling more than I loved anything. Like any sport or anything. Like basketball was always kind of my favorite sport since the first time I played it. But man, there was a point in time where wrestling was like my entire world. Like I loved it.
Oh, that was my start in the sports writing. That was the first thing I wrote about was pro wrestling.
Oh wow. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I had when I was in college, I had a daily Monday through Friday pro wrestling column on all the latest going on in the world of pro wrestling and everything. And so yeah, I used to religiously watch pro wrestling. Like, that was a thing. It was an event. It was must see TV. It was like all the pay-per-views and all of that kind of stuff. Awesome. Yeah, I was big into it. But man, Randy Savage, what a legend. Yeah. What a legend. Yep. Keith, to bring things back to the Celtics here. So I think as much as Celtics fans were annoyed, upset, whatever word you want to use, at what happened during the Olympics, I think this actually helps them. And I think this helps them for two reasons. Number one, Jason Tatum didn't log a bunch of minutes, right? That's part of it, right? Didn't log a bunch of minutes. And you mentioned that chip on your shoulder. You've got now pissed off Jason Tatum because he has to prove to everybody that he shouldn't get DNPs. And you've got pissed off Jaylen Brown, who needs to prove to everybody that he should have been on the team to begin with. And that matters. After you've won a championship, there can be a letdown where do you get that motivation, right? Because before we got to win one. We got to get this. Now you've won it and the target's on you. You're now the hunted and you have to create that motivation. Well, they're not going to have to look far to find that motivation, to find that whiteboard material. It's right there for them. And so I think that's going to create over the course of the season, when it's a random Wednesday night in January, you're going to have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown be able to turn to that and get pissed off and go play angry and go win a game that, you know, maybe they might not have otherwise because they would have just gone through the motion. So I think this is actually, despite it's frustrating not to see your guy get to perform on the brightest stage, right? And in the Olympics, and I should say the brightest stage, you know, worldwide.
But yeah.
In the Olympics, right? To not get to see your guy do that. But the Celtics, and I know most NBA fans care more about their NBA team than the Olympic team. For the Celtics, this may have ended up being a perfect summer, given the way it went and the fact that now you're going to get angry Tatum and angry Jaylen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many Celtics fans I've seen on social media, in emails to me, even in the comments on our show, at times say versions of like, hey, this is great. Like, I'm so excited that these guys are mad. Now, I'll pour a little bit of cold water on it because there's always a chance it goes sideways. If they try to turn it
Sure.
into their own personal revenge tour, it can get real messy. But here's where I think Holiday, Horford, White, those guys, there's a high level of accountability within that team. And they're basically going to be like, no, we're not doing this. Like, this is not Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like, take on the league. This is the Boston Celtics. The big thing that's right up there. The other thing that gets me super excited is they are very open about, like, can't wait to celebrate on opening night, raise the banner, get our rings. But every single person in the organization, Brad Stevens, Joe Mazzulla, now all the players that we've heard from them today, is that, but it's over. Like, that was last year. No one cares. No one cares what we did last year. It is go win another one. And that's like, that's where it's like, that's the mindset you want, right? Is like,
absolutely,
go get another one. Like, there's a very famous Tom Brady quote where he says, he had won the Big Ten title at Michigan, and he went to, I think it's either equipment manager or trainer who had been there for like 30 Big Ten championships. And he said to him, he goes, hey, what's your favorite championship? That Michigan's won. And the guy looked at him and said, the next one. And Brady said he carried that with him throughout his entire NFL career. So when everybody would say, hey, what's your favorite Super Bowl? He would say, the next one. That's my favorite Super Bowl to win. And like, I think the Celtics are adopting the mindset of, cool, yeah, we won the title. We're gonna celebrate it one more time, and then that's it. It's done. Now, everybody knows 10 years from now when guys retire and whatnot,
they'll talk
guys
about
will celebrate, they'll have fun,
sure,
and that's how it should be. But right now, yeah, get focused, go to the next one. Like Joe Mazzulla said, he said it in typical goofy Joe Mazzulla fashion of, let's go there and watch a game. That looks nice behind you now. I like.
Yeah, right. My TV just said it was all the Celtics talk. My TV just said, "Screw it, I'm going to the screensaver. I'm going to a tropical island so I can escape."
Yeah, like this turned into Celtics time instead of front office. But I'll just share Joe Mazzulla's thing was, he's like, he did it in typical weird Joe Mazzulla fashion of, I don't like the term defending a title. No one in the animal kingdom defends anything. You go out and attack. And he's like, so we're attacking a title. Like, we're going to go attack winning another title versus defending a title. So, of course, he had to make it goofy, but it's the mentality works there. And I think I think those things can help. Like you said, it's hard, right? It's like everybody says, you climb Everest, you don't come down and be like, let's do it again. Right. No. It's like, there's got to be a reason to do it again. And that's kind of the story with championship teams. I think that's part of why we haven't seen a repeat champion in 7 years or whatever it is.
Yep. So in other words, the Boston Celtics brought to you by Kraven the Hunter this season.
Yeah, there we go.
That movie's going to be coming out. I think it's a good place to end it on, but thank you, everybody, for joining us. I do agree with Keith that the Celtics have the right mindset, and we're going to be hearing even more from NBA teams as they have their media day. We know the Denver Nuggets are going to have theirs tomorrow. Next week, you're going to have a bunch of teams have media day. Let's go. The NBA season, it is almost here. Let's go. Muscle watch. That's right. That's right. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.